My name is Patricia Kranz. I'm the executive editor of the director, of the OPC. And we're delighted today to have a program about that we called Straddling the Border, Forces Pushing Central American Migrants North while still keeping them in limbo. Our moderator is Tracy Wilkinson of the Los Angeles Times. She is having some technical difficulties, so we hope that she'll be able to join us soon. In the meantime, I'll introduce our panel. Carlos Dada is the founder and director of El Faro, a news website established in El Salvador in 1998 and known for independent and high quality journalism in Central America. So welcome, Carlos. Then the two other panelists, I'm happy to say, won OPC awards this year for their coverage. Maria Hinojosa, the president and founder of Futuro Media, she and her colleagues won the Lowell Thomas Award, which is for best radio, audio, or podcast coverage of international affairs for their piece, The Moving Border. Kate Morrissey of the San Diego Union-Tribune. It's wonderful to have a local paper win an award. And her colleagues won the Robert Spiers Benjamin Award for best reporting in any medium on Latin America for a series that looked into what really happens to those seeking the promise of asylum. I know that Tracy was thinking of starting with Carlos to give a little background on what is happening to drive people to the border. So did you want to talk about that a little, Carlos? You have to unmute.
Yeah, that's the story of my life for the last 2.5 years. Thank you, Patricia, first of all, for inviting me to this panel. I'm really honored to share this panel with two reporters as accomplished and admirable as Maria and Kate. So thank you for having me here. I'm in San Salvador right now. As you know, El Salvador is one of the countries of the so-called Northern Triangle that make up for most of the migrants showing up at the United States southern border every day. And yes, of course, there are what is called push reasons for the immigration and pull reasons for migrants. And on this side of the story, of course, it's the push reasons which I am most familiar with. As you know, Central America has come to the attention again on levels that it didn't have since the end of our civil wars in the 80s and the beginning of the 90s. And it has come again to the front pages of particular of US media because of the migrants crisis, which is often treated as an internal political matter in the United States and by US politicians. But there's many reasons for migrants to leave their homes, and I want to make emphasis and say strongly to leave their homes because that's a very difficult decision. So if you ask me, and we have been at El Faro for years reporting on the conditions of the people that emigrate and following them on their path to the tough path through Mexico to the United States, it's usually desperate people running away from desperate situations. In other words, people that can't or think that they can't live here anymore. And there's reasons for that. So let me try to list them briefly, and then we can expand on whichever you deem necessary. First of all is violence. The Northern Triangle is one of the most violent regions in the planet, not only in Latin America, but in the planet, with very high homicide rates. And usually this violence is is not only social violence, but in the last years, it has intensified and developed as criminal violence due to mainly two factors. One is gangs that you have also covered a lot in the last years in the United States, which is gangs like MS-13 and 18th Street Gang, which are responsible for most of the homicides, particularly in El Salvador. But they also have an important presence in Guatemala and Honduras. And then the other little branch of this violence, which is not as little as I'm saying it, is the drug trafficking, the wars among cartels. Since Central America, somehow around 15 or 20 years ago, became the main corridor, not only for migrants, but also for drugs, since the Caribbean route was closing. So the drug trafficking through Central America absolutely changed this region, and which brings me to another of the elements of the situation of people running up north, running away from this land, which is corruption. Of course, when organized crime penetrates the political systems, you have a lot of corruption, and you have a lot of corruption mixed with this political violence also, which is in reality criminal violence. Then quickly, let me list two more reasons. One is, of course, the economy. The three countries make part of the lowest list of countries in Latin America. I mean, talking about gross internal product or gross income. These are some of the poorest countries in Latin America: Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and El Salvador. So there's just let me quote one more ingredient that has come as a big reason for immigration in the past few years, and that is climate change. Right? You have in the Pacific, let's call it the Pacific corridor of Central America, you have what we call the dry corridor. The droughts are caused by climate change, but not only by climate change, but also by the dams that are stopping the rivers and the irrigation of the lands of people that usually survive of what we call subsistence agriculture. They live on what they can, I'm sorry, can you help me out? Sembrar or cultivate in their very small lands. So those lands are not producing any food anymore. And what you saw the last year, and with this, I'm taking too much of your time. And with this, I'm gonna end this first part, and we can go through whatever you want. But it's also what we saw last year, particularly in Honduras, but also some in Guatemala, which is the vulnerability of people subject to natural disasters. What we saw in Honduras with the huge tropical storms Iota and Eta displaced hundreds of thousands of people that can't go back to their homes, if you can call home the places where they already lived, which are like very small shacks where they have no means of surviving anymore. We can talk more about what's happening with these people, because we've been reporting on the ground on those places. And these are the people trying to go north and then returned either by Guatemalan or Mexican authorities or US authorities, and then they have nowhere else to go. They are trapped or, as I say, imprisoned in their own countries because they can't go back to homes they don't have anymore. I'm gonna stop here because it's a lot for such a short time. I'm sorry I took so much time.